Have you ever felt tested by your partner, as if he or she is deliberately provoking your reaction, testing the limits of your patience? If so, don't worry. It's not about winning or losing. It's about self-control. As Seneca said, the strongest man is not the one who retaliates, but the one who remains calm in the midst of the storm. This is the essence of Stoicism: controlling yourself, not controlling others. Many men fail at this point. They overreact, get carried away, and end up making things worse. In fact, there are smarter ways to deal with this situation. Number 1, stay calm and don't overreact. When someone tests our patience, especially in relationships, our first instinct is often to react, to defend ourselves, strike back, or even show impatience. However, Stoicism teaches that true strength is not in how hard we respond, but in how well we can control ourselves. As Epictetus said, it is not the things that happen that bother us, but the way we interpret them. In other words, it is not the test that is the problem, but how we respond to it. For example, if your partner suddenly says in a challenging tone, "Do you really care about this relationship?" Most men are immediately provoked. They feel attacked, like they have to prove themselves. But a man who understands Stoicism will respond with calmness, perhaps by asking, "What makes you feel that way?" The key is to not let our emotions get the best of us. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your thoughts, not external events." Realize this, and you will find true power. In other words, control is in our hands, not the situation or the other person. Number 2, understand that the test is not a personal attack. When someone tests our patience, especially in relationships, we often take it as a personal attack. We feel blamed, judged, or even demeaned. Yet if we look at it more wisely, these tests are often not about us, but about the other person's emotions, fears, and expectations. As Seneca said, we suffer more often in our own imagination than in reality. In other words, we often misinterpret the intentions of others and overreact to things that don't actually threaten us. For example, your partner says in an irritated tone, "You are always busy and never have time for me." At this point, there are 2 options. Take it as a personal attack and defend yourself with excuses, or look deeper to see that behind his words is an unexpressed emotion. Perhaps he just feels neglected, not really wanting to blame you. Epictetus once said, "When someone speaks ill of you, do not rush to defend yourself. Instead, ask yourself, is what he says true? If it is true, correct it. If not, ignore it." This is the essence of self-control, not reacting immediately, but understanding the deeper meaning before taking a stand. Number 3, pause before responding. When someone challenges our patience, especially in relationships, our natural response is often to react immediately. Words come out without thought. The tone of voice rises, and eventually the situation escalates. But in Stoicism, there is one simple principle that can change everything. Use pause before responding. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Give yourself time to understand before you speak, for words spoken cannot be taken back." This is why pausing is important, not only to calm down, but also to ensure that we are speaking with wisdom, not with the emotion of the moment. For example, your partner suddenly says in a high tone, "Why are you always busy and never care about me?" Without a pause, the knee-jerk response could be self-defense. "I'm busy at work, don't you see?" But with a pause, we can take a breath, think, and respond more wisely. I understand you feel neglected. I didn't mean that. Let's talk about it. Epictetus once said, "The strongest man is not the one who always speaks first, but the one who can control his tongue until the time is right." In other words, pausing before responding is not a sign of weakness, but rather a sign of great self-control. Number 4, avoid ego. Focus on self-control. One of the biggest traps in any conflict is ego. When someone challenges us, especially in relationships, our ego wants to win, wants to prove that we are right, wants to maintain our pride. But Stoicism teaches that true victory is not about defeating the other person, but defeating ourselves, controlling our reactions, and not letting the ego take over. As Epictetus said, if someone tries to provoke you, remember that it is only his opinion. You don't have to accept it as the truth. This means that when someone criticizes or tests us, it is not something we should always fight against. We have full control to choose how we respond. Imagine your partner saying, "You always don't listen to me." The ego wants to immediately reply, "I always listen, you never appreciate me." But a person who understands Stoicism will hold back, take a pause and say, "I want to understand better. Can you explain what I'm missing?" In this way, we control the situation instead of letting our emotions be controlled by the ego. Marcus Aurelius once said, "True strength is mastering yourself, not others." So when someone tries to test us, it's not our ego we need to defend. It's our self-control we need to maintain. Number 5. Listen patiently without defending yourself too quickly. One of the biggest mistakes we often make in conversations, especially when facing criticism or complaints, is to defend ourselves too quickly. We want to quickly explain ourselves, deny the accusation, or prove our innocence. But in Stoicism, listening patiently without reacting immediately is a sign of true strength. As Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we hear more than we speak." This means that in any situation, listening first is always more valuable than rushing to respond. Imagine your partner saying, "I feel like you never care about me." The knee-jerk reaction is often to jump to their defense. "I care. I've done so much for you." But with patience, we can hold back, listen to the whole thing, and then say, "I understand you feel that way. Can you tell me more about it so I can understand better?" With this approach, we don't make things worse, but instead open up space for healthier communication. Marcus Aurelius once said, "When you hear someone speak, don't just wait for your turn to speak, but really listen with an open mind." Listening patiently is not only a sign of wisdom, but also a sign of strong self-control. Number 6. Show assertiveness without excessive emotion. Often when we want to assert something, we get caught up in emotions. Our tone of voice rises, our facial expressions tighten, and our words sound like an attack instead of assertiveness. But in Stoicism, true assertiveness is not about speaking louder or dominating others, but about getting your point across clearly, calmly, and without excessive emotion. As Seneca said, "The strong man is not the one who shouts the loudest, but the one who remains calm in chaos." This means that assertiveness does not require anger. It is about self-control and clarity in speech. For example, your partner says, "You're always busy and never have time for me." If we are too emotional, we may respond with anger or a frustrated tone. "I'm busy at work, you never understand." But with calm assertiveness, we can say, "I do have a lot of responsibilities, but I also want to make sure we have quality time together. Let's find a solution." Marcus Aurelius once said, "Control your thoughts, for that is where your actions are born." True decisiveness comes from control of the mind and clear speech, not from explosive emotional reactions. Number 7. Understand the intention. Behind the test, not just the words. Sometimes someone tests us not because they want to bring us down, but because there is something deeper they are feeling, uncertainty, fear, or even a desire to be understood. In Stoicism, we are taught not to react only to words, but to understand the intentions hidden behind them. As Epictetus said, "It is not events that disturb us, but the way we interpret them." This means that a person's words don't always reflect the absolute truth. Sometimes they are simply an expression of deeper feelings. For example, your partner says in an annoyed tone, "You never really cared about me." If we only focus on the words, we might immediately feel attacked and want to retaliate. "What does that mean, I don't care? I've always been there for you." But if we look deeper, maybe what she's really feeling is a lack of attention or an unexpressed concern. A wiser response would be, "I want to understand why you feel that way. Can you tell me more?" Marcus Aurelius once said, "When someone is acting badly, think about what makes them act that way. If you understand, then you will find it easier to be patient." By understanding the intention behind someone's words, we can respond with wisdom instead of impulsive emotional reactions. Number 8. Don't try too hard to please. Stay authentic. Many times we feel like we have to please others to be accepted, especially when facing a test from someone we care about. But in Stoicism, we are taught that our self-worth does not depend on how much we try to make others happy, but rather on how honest we are with ourselves. As Epictetus said, "If you try to please everyone, you will lose yourself." This means that in life, we cannot always keep everyone satisfied. It is more important to stick to our own principles and values. For example, your partner says, "You should do this for me more often." If we're always trying to please, we might immediately reply, "Yes, I will," even if we feel uncomfortable or burdened inside. But a Stoic will think more deeply before responding. He will consider whether the request is in line with his principles and boundaries, then answer honestly without being hurtful. "I understand you want it, but I also need to consider what's best for both of us." Marcus Aurelius once said, "True happiness comes from living life according to our principles, not from validating others." If we are always trying to please, we will only lose ourselves. But if we stay authentic, we will be more respected and have healthier relationships. Number 9. Make it a mental exercise to improve patience. There is no growth without challenges. In life, every moment where our patience is tested is not an obstacle, but an opportunity. An opportunity to train ourselves, to become calmer, wiser, and stronger. In Stoicism, patience is not only about restraining emotions, but also about building mental resilience. As Seneca said, "Patience is the control of a shaken mind, not merely the postponement of anger." This means we not only refrain from emotional outbursts, but also change the way we think about challenging situations. Imagine your partner is angry and expressing their frustration to you. The natural response might be to want to defend yourself or even retaliate with emotion. But if we see this situation as a mental exercise, we can choose to pause, analyze the situation, and respond wisely. Instead of saying, "Why are you always like this?" we can say, "I hear how you feel. Let's talk about it calmly." Marcus Aurelius once said, "What gets in your way is what shapes you." If we see difficult situations as practice, then every challenge will become an opportunity to grow. Patience is not just waiting for the storm to blow over, but learning how to stay calm in the midst of the storm itself. In life, we will always face situations that test our patience, whether it be in relationships, work, or daily life. However, in Stoicism, we are taught that every test is not something to be feared, but rather an opportunity to grow. How we respond to these moments will determine whether we become stronger or become controlled by our own emotions. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If something is beyond your control, don't let it control you." This principle teaches us that patience is not just about restraining our emotions, but also about shifting our focus to the things we can control. We can't control how others act, but we can control how we respond. So, whenever you feel tested, remember, this is not an obstacle, but a practice. With every challenge you face with poise, you not only survive, but also evolve into a stronger and wiser person. Patience is not weakness, it is true strength.